Welcome back, Cat 37 CATIA surfacing class. We're going to go over blending. So we're going to blend surfaces using the blend command. All right, so here's what the icon looks like. So we're going to be blending between curves, close contours, coupling blend, and develop rule surfaces. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the file, blend 1, cat part. Try it again. Let's see if it opens. There it is. Okay, so we're going to blend these two surfaces here. Let's go ahead and look at the tutorial. Okay, so we're going to create a blend between these two surfaces. So this will be our first support and curve. This will be the second one. So the large one is the first one. Okay, so this, sometimes you have gaps between, usually blend is used to fill a gap. So you have a very tiny gap between two surfaces. That's the intention for blend, but it can be used also almost as a swept or a multi-section loft. It can also be used to blend between two curves with no surfaces, which if I don't demonstrate in this video, I'll do it on a separate video where blend is actually useful for other things other than blending two surfaces. All right, so let's go ahead and create this blend. Okay, so we're going to blend between these two. But instead of this edge, we're going to use this line to blend from this edge to that edge. All right, so let's go to blend. So right below multi-section, we have blend. Okay, next to multi-section, we have blend. Okay, so once again, it's typically used to blend a small gap between two existing surfaces. So that's the intention for blend, but actually it can actually do a lot more. Surprisingly, a lot more than what it's expected. All right, so let's go ahead and use the blend command below multi-section loft. So we're going to blend. So it's asking for the first curve. We're going to go from this curve. And then we can go to our first support, which is this one. And I forgot to insert my own geo set. It's okay, we'll do it in a minute. Then we have a second curve, which is this one. So we're not going to use this edge, we're going to use this one. Second curve, and our second support is the small surface. Okay, and make sure the red arrowheads are pointing in the same direction, which they are. Preview, there it is. What happens if they're not pointing in the same direction, the red arrowheads? Preview. Notice it's going to want to twist. Okay, so the red arrowheads need to point in the same direction. It doesn't matter which direction as long as they both point in the same direction. There it is. So we created our curves, our surface. Now, even though we chose surfaces for supports, we can actually remove them. Watch what happens when I remove this support. So if I go to first support and right click clear and hit preview, notice what happens. So it's no longer blending into the other surface with tangency or curvature continuity. Now it's just G0, point continuity. So this is G0 when you have a sharp corner between two surface patches. Okay, same thing at the top. If we were to remove the support at the top here, same thing. If we remove it and clear and preview, notice now we have sharp corners here, and it's just like a crease on a sheet of paper. So take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and crease it down the middle, and you have G0 continuity, which is point continuity. But if you want to bring them back, nope, let me go back to my first support, bring it back. Preview, now we have tangent continuity. Okay, so you can see a nice clean transition by the reflection lines, but we can increase it from G1 tangency up to G2 curvature continuity and preview. Notice how it cleans up the reflection. Let's go back down to G1 tangency preview. See the difference? Cleans it up. Also, let's look at it from the side so you can see how it shapes it to give us that curvature continuity. G2 and preview. Notice it pushed it out more so you can have a smoother transition from one to the other. Now we're going to go to the top, do the same thing. Let's bring back the second support. And this one has tangency and preview. Okay, so let's take a look at the reflection lines on this one. So the reflection lines are connected, but they zigzag a little bit. So let's go to G2, curvature continuity, and preview. Notice how it improves on it. It rounds it off. Okay, so there we have 3 surface patches that are connected, and there's G2 surface continuity, curvature continuity from one to the other and to the next one, right? All right, we also have tension, so we can play with the tension. Okay, so we can play with the tension, increase the tension, decrease it. Let me go back to the basic. There's something I forgot to mention. I thought there was going to be a reverse button here. That's okay. Before I go to tension, let's turn on the trim option. You can trim off any excess. So here we have excess, right? So I can trim off the excess. Well, there's no excess on this one, but there is on this one. I'll just turn on both of them. Remove the excess. Watch how this portion disappears. Preview. There it is. Whoop, didn't do it. Maybe I need to hit OK. There it is. It's gone. So what happened to that extension? It's in the background, right? Here's the parent, or the parents of the blend. And these are the dependents, the children, right? So this is the child of these 2 parents. Including the line is a parent. Okay, so now let's go back to blend. Something that's very important I forgot to mention. So we're going back to make changes. There's these red arrows here. Not the ones on the outside, but the ones on the inside. Let's see what happens when I flip this one here. So there's these red arrows. Click on it. Notice it flipped in the other direction and preview. Okay, so what's happening is trying to flip around in the other direction. So let me flip it back and preview. Okay, this one is better. That's a lot better. Let me go to this red arrow here. Flip that one. Preview. Notice how that one did flip, right? So it's going in the wrong direction. And it's very difficult to catch something like this, that it's going in the wrong direction when you're dealing with small blends. So if I go back to the notes, if it's a very small blend, sometimes it's hard to see that it's flipping and folding. Well, not quite folded, but close to it. And that's a mistake that's common. There's a 50-50 chance that one of them will flip on you, go in the wrong direction. Okay, so be aware of that anytime you create a small blend between 2 large surfaces. Zoom in there, make sure it didn't flip on you. Okay, like we just did it on this one. So this one's obvious, we can see it, but if this was a small blend, it would be very difficult to see this. Okay, so how do you fix it? You can flip the red arrow, and then you can also change the curvature by playing with the tension. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip it and reverse it, right? The red line, preview. Then you can work on the surface tension, and then you work it, right? Work it so you can either push it outward or inward more. Okay, so when it comes to tension, you want to keep it maybe no lower than 0.8, maybe no higher than 2.0. Once you go beyond that range, the surface can get a little, it can start turning and twisting, or maybe look too flat. Okay, so let's go ahead and play with the tension just so you can see the first tension, right? If I decrease it, let's go to tension 2, almost down to 0 almost. Watch what happens here to the curvature. Preview. See what happens? It's not as smooth, but maybe that's what you need. But this is too much of a tight turn. So you want to go minimum 0.8. Preview. Okay, that's not that bad. See that? And for the tension up here on the top, we can increase it. I mean, you can go up to 2. Preview, but see how it really pushes it out, but it still looks okay, right? And you can go up to a large number, something like 10 or even higher, right? We can go to a high tension and watch what happens. Preview, see how it really pushes it out? So it starts getting ugly and folding, especially if it's a small distance between the two parent surfaces. So I'm going to go back down and drop them both to 1. And that's just a matter of what looks better for you, so you're gonna have to be playing around with tensions until you get a surface that looks clean and not twist and turn on you. So that just takes experience and also, again, visually, what looks better. Okay. And okay, so that's blend. Okay, let's continue on with the tutorial. Okay, so we did blend, we did supports, we did tensions, right? You can also have a tapering tension, by the way. Forgot to mention that. So we did tension and we kept it constant. Okay, so before we do that, let me go back. Actually, let me go back to tension. So you can do constant or you can do a linear, like taper. Watch what happens if I go to linear. So I'm going to do a linear. Instead of having a constant tension of 1 throughout the seam, I can increase one and decrease the other one. So I can make one, let's say 2, and the other one 0.3. Okay, so one of them has a small tension and the other one has a larger one. Watch what happens in this area. And preview. Notice what happens. So here there's a tension of 0.3 for this area, and this one a tension of 2. See, it's almost like it's tapering, which is cool if that's what you're looking for. Sometimes you are looking for that. Okay, so instead of a linear taper from 0.3 to a tension of 2, right? You can get that, or you can just go back to constant. You also have an S-type preview. Notice you get an S shape instead of a linear. Instead of a linear taper, it's more of an S shape, as you can see. It goes from 0.3 up to 2. I'm just going to go back and keep it constant, and it drops down to only 1 tension. Go back to 1 and preview. So now it's a constant 1, a tension of 1 throughout the seam. And okay. All right, so that's blend. Okay, so let's go on to the next tutorial. So we can also create blends between profiles with no surfaces, right? So you don't necessarily need a surface to use a blend command, even though blend is intended to blend one surface to another. Okay, so do we have these profiles? Let's go back. Oh, there they are. Didn't see them. Here we have them. Okay, so this is very similar to lofting. Actually, I may use this for lofting. Something we missed earlier. We didn't have this shape. Okay, so let's do a blend first. Then we're going to do a lofting, see what result we get. So let's go blend. We're going to blend from this one to this one. And preview, and it twists on you, as you can see. It looks pretty cool, but that's not the shape we're looking for, right? Okay, so how do we fix this? Well, we have closing points. That's one option. Actually, where are the closing points? Here they are, closing points. I visually don't see them. Okay, so let's go ahead and walk through the tutorial. Okay, so we do have points. So it looks like the circle has a point, or we're going to have to create a point to help us smooth this out and remove that twist. Okay, so we're going to go to closing points and create a point. So we're going to have to create a point to smooth this out or to remove the twist. Okay, so we're going to project a point. So it looks like we're going to project a point or create a point up here at this quadrant and fix that. All right, so let's see if we can fix it, make it straight. Let's go back. Okay, so let me just hit OK right now, and let's look for that point. I don't see that point, so we're going to have to create it. It looks like it has to go on the top here. Okay, so Z is pointing up. You can always use the compass to rotate, as you can see. Or to rotate about an axis, right? Or you can grab the top of it to rotate at different angles. All right, so thought I saw a point there somewhere. Reframe on. Okay, so there is a point there. Oh, there it is. I just didn't see it. Okay, so extremum number 1. Right click properties. Let me change the color here. It's hard to see the point, and it's due to my graphics card. There it is. So I changed the color. There it is. Extremum number 1. Okay, so let's go back to the tutorial. Okay, so we're also going to create a projection. So I'm assuming we're going to project this point to this one. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so let's double click on the surface. Okay, so there's our first point. All right, so let's go to closing points. So it is picking the extreme. Maybe it generated the extremum on its own. I don't know if it was already there, but it's there. Okay, so we need a second closing point, and it's picking this one here. So for the sketch of this profile, it randomly picked a point. I had to pick something. There it is. All right, so let's create a new one. So I'm going to go right click in here, and we're going to pick another selection. We're going to create a projection. Okay, so I'm going to project this extremum 1 onto this. Okay, so extremum 1, I'm going to project it onto this one. And preview. And it's hard to see, but it's there. And OK. So now it's going to go from here to here. Let's preview. Da da da. Okay, you guys blinked till you missed it. Okay, so let me cancel. I'll do it over again. So we have this extremum point, number 1. Let me double click on this twisted ugly surface. We're going to go to closing point. So this is our first closing point, because I chose this as my first profile. This one is my second. So we're going to take this point and project it over to this profile, this rectangular looking profile with the round edges. So we're going to go in here, second closing point. Oh, so my mistake. The second closing point is back here. Here it is. So currently our second closing point is back here. Our first one for the circle is, assuming it's this one. Okay, so it seems to be this one. Yep. Okay, so let's go to our second closing point, the point on the rectangular sketch. And that's not the one we want. It's randomly picking this point off of the sketch, the original sketch that created this profile. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to replace it or clear or create something new. Hey, I'm gonna project a point onto that sketch, that rectangular sketch with the round edges. Okay. So now it's saying, okay, what do you want to project? I want to project that extremum point here, extremum number 1, onto this sketch, which is sketch number 1. So we're going to project it onto this sketch, and it's going to project it across. Preview, and it's hard to see, but it's right there in that area. And okay, and now it takes us back to the blend command. There it is. So we're going from extremum 1 to project number 1, which should be in here somewhere. There it is, project number 1, and preview. Ta-da! And okay. So let's unhide project 1, just so you see where it's at, just so you can see that I did project it over. It's a little hard to see, but it's there. Okay, so we projected this extremum 1 to here, so it helps guide the surface along. That's the result. That's what we want, right? Maybe not as pretty as the previous twist, but there it is. Okay, let's move on. Creating a coupling blend. Oh, before I do that, I mentioned multi-section loft. Let's hide this blend. So we can also use multi-section, right? So I'm going to deviate, go to multi-section lofting, and we can go from circle to rectangular shape and preview. Okay, so same idea. We're going to have to use closing points, right? So here's our closing point for the circle, which is good. And we're going to have to replace the closing point on the rectangular one here. See, it's back here. I'm going to right click, replace with this new point. And preview. And there it is. Ta-da! Slightly different shape, as you can see. It's a little bit different, but you can also use multi-section. And okay. Let's unhide the blend, which is straighter, as you can see. Let's go to the blend and change the color. Okay, so the tan brownish one is the blend, and the vanilla is the lofty multi-section loft. Okay. Let's hide the multi-section loft, and let's hide the blend. Blend is awesome because it creates a ruled surface, meaning if you pick any point on the surface, you can draw a straight line along that surface, and it'll stay straight and lie on the surface. Okay, so this is a ruled surface, straight lines. So pick any point on the surface, and there's a guarantee that there's a straight line that goes along the surface and stays on the surface, right? A straight line. Versus the multi-section, this is not a ruled surface. Because if I pick a point here, there's no straight line going in any direction, right? So non-ruled surface versus ruled surface. Okay, so this brown one is a ruled surface. Okay, so since we're on the topic, ruled surface, you're going to hear this term quite a bit in surfacing. Nothing better than show you visuals. You can generate a surface with straight lines, right? So there's a guarantee that there is a straight line traveling along the surface. Pick any point, and there's a guarantee a straight line lies on that surface that intersects that point, any random point you pick on that surface. Okay, so these are ruled surfaces, right? Like a ruler, ruled. All right. Okay, so let's do this one now. Coupling. Let's see if I find this one. Okay, here we go. By the way, blend, because of the ruled surface, is a good command to use for wings when you're generating that long wing surface, use blend. Your instinct will be to go with multi-section or with sweep. For a wing, nice ruled surface, go with blend. Even though we're not blending surfaces, generates a nice ruled surface between profiles, right? All right, so now let's go on to the next one. So we're going to connect these two. And we're going to do coupling with spine and ratio. And I actually don't know if I've ever done that before, but we'll give it a shot. And then we'll be done with this tutorial. Okay, so let's blend. So again, typically you wouldn't think of blending two profiles with no surfaces, but you can do it. Make sure the arrows are pointing in the same direction. Preview. Okay, so it's not a clean surface, right? So we need to fix it, the coupling. So let's go over to coupling. Coupling with spine or coupling slash spine. Okay, so I guess spine is optional. Okay, so coupling. So we're going to couple this point to this point. And again, go in order. Since this is the first curve and this is the second curve, you need to go back to front or first to second, and so on. So we got our first couple. Now let's go to the second. So go first to second. And preview. And there it is. We have a nice clean ruled surface again. And we actually don't need a spine. We can always add the, looks like it's the X axis as a spine if we choose to. Okay, but I don't think we need one, and it's not allowing me to pick one, I think because it's straight, or I may be wrong, but there it is. Okay, there's our lofted or blended surface, my mistake, blend surface. Okay, so we got our ruled surface. Okay, so let's see if I can find this tutorial. Is this one on there? I don't see it. Okay, so we're going to stop here on this video. Okay, so don't forget to save it. Okay, so blend, complete it, put it on my desktop, creating surfaces. So blend 1, complete. All right, so this is the end for the surfacing tutorials. In the next video for tutorials, we'll be doing operations tutorials, and there will be some more videos with lectures. And then after you get done with your operations tutorials, so we got wireframe, surfaces tutorials. This was the last one for surfacing. And next we have operations tutorials. And after that, we're going to be working on our final project. So hopefully you'll spend at least 2 full Saturdays on your final project, at least 1, hopefully 2. Okay, so and I will give you a lecture on what type of project I'm looking for. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed and think that you need to create a perfect project or even complete it. You can turn in an incomplete project and still get full credit. Okay, so I'll cover that in later videos. All right, so end of this video.